I'm a very talented, capable individual. I'm here for a reason. I can do it.
What an idiot I've been as a young person in this industry who has no filter and no idea what she's doing.
It's kind of sinking in more and more that tomorrow is happening and the trailer is coming out.
Rachel Zegler's team is once again pointing fingers, but this time, they've truly outdone themselves. According to new insider reports, the reason her much-anticipated stage debut is flopping in real time has nothing to do with her star power, dismal box office history, or the trail of PR disasters she's left behind. Instead, they're suggesting that the real culprit is online backlash.
But it's also really important to me that I share with you not only the really good, exciting moments, but also like the little blips where I just don't feel great. I think that's really important that you see me as a human being, because I think a lot of people don't. So I don't know. I want that disclaimer out there.
Yes, her team is now claiming that TikTok and Twitter are to blame for the plummeting ticket sales of Evita, as if a few spicy comments on social media could compel thousands of London theatergoers to skip a production, supposedly headlined by a Golden Globe winner. It's laughable, delusional even. But most importantly, it's exactly what we've come to expect from Team Zegler. Blame the internet and dodge the mirror.
Like, who has been the most exciting person for you tonight?
Oh my God.
Besides,
Took the words out of my mouth. Besides,
Crimea River, she's just exactly everything that we can't stand.
The reality is that the problem isn't the comments, it's the silence. The silence from the box office, from audiences, from the very people who were supposed to care. You can't cancel what no one is buying. And in this case, no one is buying. A quick look at the seating charts for the London Palladium, an iconic venue with over 2,200 seats,
I'm a narcissist.
reveals a sea of green, meaning every section, every row, every performance is wide open weeks before opening night. The production is looking like it's on life support. People are willing to wait in line for tickets that start at just £29.50, barely more than a movie and popcorn. So let's not pretend this is a coordinated hate campaign. It's not backlash, it's indifference. It's a slow, cold shrug from the very audience Zegler and her team thought would be clamoring for her the moment she took the stage. With every unsold seat, the myth of Rachel Zegler as a marquee name is collapsing under its own weight.
Now looking like it is seriously on life support.
People will wait in line to see.
The spotlight isn't being stolen by internet trolls. It was never earned in the first place. Despite being labeled a Golden Globe winner and a breakout star from Snow White and The Hunger Games, the reality is that no amount of bold font accolades can hide the grim numbers. This is a production at the London Palladium, one of the most iconic venues in the West End, and they can't even fill a balcony.
You know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird.
Forget a packed house. Zegler can't even generate enough interest to create a rush. The ticketing system's traffic light chart, which typically turns red or orange as seats fill up, looks more like a freshly mowed soccer field. Pure green. Every night, every section, every price point sends a clear message from the audience. We're not interested. You'd think someone at the studio or production company would pause and ask the obvious question. If Rachel Zegler is truly the rising star Hollywood insists she is, where are the fans?
Mode soccer field, pure green.
But it's hard. And it's lonely. It's very lonely. I just know that if that loneliness can exist, so can other things, and I will be okay.
Spoiler alert, they don't exist. Not in any meaningful numbers. The disconnect between Zegler's industry hype and her actual public appeal is staggering. Studios keep betting big on her, and every time, audiences respond with a collective shrug. West Side Story underperformed. Snow White bombed catastrophically. And now her attempt to pivot to theater, a move that should have brought credibility and reset the narrative, is collapsing before the curtain even rises. Rachel Zegler is essentially a no-name actress. If you look at her IMDb, West Side Story was basically her first film.
Rachel Zegler is a no-name actress. She's barely been in anything, actually. If you look at her IMDb, West Side Story was the first one that but it was the first movie she was in, basically.
It's almost as if the public saw through the PR campaign months ago and decided to quietly check out. Now the silence in those empty seats is deafening. You can't blame the internet for this one. Rachel Zegler isn't being unfairly targeted, she's being fairly ignored. No amount of studio-engineered buzz can cover the fact that she simply isn't a draw, neither at the movies nor on stage. Let's stop pretending this is a one-off stumble.
Well, it just goes to show they shouldn't have hired her. This is not a person that, well, it's just not a person that has any element of draw in whatever she's in.
What's happening with Evita isn't an unfortunate outlier. It's part of a clear, escalating pattern. At the center of it all is Rachel Zegler, who somehow keeps failing upward while audiences tune out. West Side Story was her arrival. Spielberg personally plucked her from obscurity, and it had the prestige, press, and full weight of a major studio behind it. Yet it barely made a dent at the box office.
I don't need your business. Thanks.
Did the industry take the loss and reassess? Of course not. They doubled down. Enter Snow White. This wasn't just any project. It was one of Disney's most iconic fairy tales, backed by nearly a century of goodwill. Who did they put front and center? Rachel Zegler, not because audiences were demanding it, but because executives seemed to think they could will her into relevance. What followed was a disaster of historic proportions, a press tour so smug and tone-deaf that it practically guaranteed the movie's failure before it ever hit theaters.
No, Prince or a different kind of Prince?
I'm sure a lot of people will assume it's a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie. Right. Andrew Burnap, great dude. Yeah. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
Who the hell are you to say all of Andrew's scenes could get cut? Like, who are you? Oh my God. Are you Disney?
Zegler rolled her eyes at the original film, called the prince a stalker, and proudly announced that the remake would fix all the problems in the classic tale. Translation: she told the entire fan base that the movie wasn't for them anymore, and they listened by staying home. Fast forward to London, different medium, same result. Her name on the marquee should have meant something. It should have been a draw. Instead, it's a deterrent. Even theatergoers, typically more forgiving and willing to give talent a chance, are steering clear.
I never wanted to come off as me being ungrateful for the opportunities.
There's no CGI spectacle to distract, just Rachel. And it turns out that without a billion-dollar machine propping her up, she doesn't have much to offer. No compelling stage presence, no organic fan base, just empty seats and a dwindling list of defenders. Let's be honest, this isn't a string of bad luck. It's not the haters on social media. It's the result of studios forcing a narrative the public never bought into. Rachel Zegler keeps getting handed golden opportunities and squandering them. Now, even the most generous audience in entertainment, the theater crowd, is signaling they've had enough.
I will elbow everyone out of the way to play the part.
While her team scrambles to find someone, anyone, to blame for this Evita embarrassment, they're pretending the internet doesn't have a memory. But we do. We remember exactly how Rachel Zegler landed in this position. She didn't just stumble into backlash, she practically invited it. Long before the London stage went green with unsold tickets, Zegler was busy alienating the very people she now needs to fill those seats. It all started with a microphone and a misguided sense of superiority. Over and over again, she trashed the original Snow White as weird, outdated, and creepy. She called the prince a stalker, laughed at the idea of a love story, and in doing so, alienated millions of fans, Disney loyalists, fairy tale lovers, and families who grew up with that classic.
Rachel didn't even seem like she cared or liked the source material. I mean, that is just far from a graceful Disney princess-like promotion. It's far from what you would think Disney wants.
Instead of honoring what made Snow White iconic, she dismissed it with the smugness of someone who thought the role made her bulletproof. Spoiler alert, it didn't. Audiences didn't forget. They didn't forgive. Now, that same dismissiveness is following her to London, where it's playing out in real time on every ticketing screen. This isn't a coincidence. It's a reckoning. The real kicker? The same fans she disrespected are the ones who would have shelled out cash to see her on stage had she shown an ounce of respect for the material that got her here in the first place.
What would you say to those who are just kind of overly critiquing the film at this point. You've worked so hard on it.
I'm getting on across. Hold on. Here. Yeah, hold on.
All right.
But instead, she positioned herself above the very audiences she needed. And now they're repaying that arrogance the only way theatergoers know how, by not showing up. No, this isn't some grand conspiracy of online trolls tanking a theater run. That would imply there's a demand to suppress. There isn't. The average London theatergoer doesn't care about your verified badge or your TikTok engagement. They care about whether you belong on that stage. When your reputation precedes you, tainted by months of viral interviews, fan-base feuds, and failed box office gambles, people don't just avoid you, they forget you. Evita was supposed to be the comeback, the redemptive third act. But instead of delivering a Broadway-worthy performance, Rachel's selling out nothing except her credibility. The silence from the audience, that's not backlash, that's clarity. The thing about Rachel Zegler's downfall is that it was entirely predictable, and yet Hollywood acted like it was impossible. After the Snow White debacle, any rational studio would have pressed pause, let the dust settle, and allowed her to prove herself in smaller, low-stakes projects. But no. Instead of listening to audiences, the industry doubled down, propping her up as if sheer willpower could force the public into caring. In this business, you don't have to be perfect, but you do have to be likable, or at the very least, self-aware. And Rachel Zegler still hasn't figured out that Hollywood isn't her personal therapy session. Audiences don't pay for growth narratives wrapped in thin-skinned interviews and backhanded lectures. They want stars who show up, put in the work, and know how to connect. What Zegler's given them instead is a one-woman show about how hard it is to be adored without actually earning the adoration. Now, with Evita circling the drain, ticket sales flatlining, and industry insiders backing away in real time, the writing isn't just on the wall. It's being projected in 4K. If this was supposed to be the stage comeback that fixed her image, it's backfired harder than anyone could have predicted. She's not the victim. She's the common denominator. The longer her team tries to blame online backlash, misogyny, or Gen Z haters, the more laughable it all becomes. At some point, someone's got to say it plainly. The audience isn't wrong, they're just over it. So here's the question. Can Rachel Zegler come back from this? Can she salvage what's left of her Hollywood goodwill? Or has she finally exhausted the last bit of patience from an industry that's already moved on? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like if you've been watching this crash in slow motion, and don't forget to subscribe because the next video on your screen is waiting. And trust me, you won't believe what's coming next.